All right, here we go. This is a lacrosse specific workout from one of my actual clients. He is a sophomore going into junior season, and this was some of the stuff that we did in the off season. He's an online client, so I wrote up a lot of stuff for him, and I'll take you guys through this. We don't really meet or on video or anything like that, or in person, so this is via email and text and stuff like that. So I tried to be as detailed as possible. I always have my clients come up with three goals, and then I help them kind of narrow those goals in. The first one being subjective, so that means something that we really can't measure right now without either like some really high-tech medical instruments and procedures and stuff like that. So subjective, meaning he would have to just kind of look and feel at himself and see like, all right, I am increasing my muscle mass. So that would be the first one. You want to increase muscle mass by working on hypertrophy, building muscle, putting on more muscle. Secondly, and second and third ones are both objective, so they have times. There are some very specific goals. So you want to decrease his 40 time by 0.15 seconds, and he wanted to reduce his 5:10 change of direction time by 0.1 seconds. Both of those are, I would say, at the higher end of a goal, kind of lofty, but doable, especially for someone who hasn't trained them in the past. So I wrote out a little explanation of the program for him. It's going to be done in 5 week phases. So phase 1 would be weeks 1 through 4 as your work week. Week 5 is a deload week. Phase 2, 1 through 4 would be work week. Week 5 would be a deload. The only difference with phase 2 is that you're going to be starting with a little bit higher weights or reps. And I'll explain that a little bit further on. In hypertrophy, hypertrophy or bodybuilding training, RIR is very, very common. It means reps in reserve. And so that refers to the amount that you think you have left in the tank at any given set. So for example, 2 RIR would mean that you would complete a set until you think that you only have 2 reps left in the tank, and you'd finish the set there. The reason we do this is because it makes it easier to track, and it's a concept that you can kind of like think about and use in your training. And it also allows my athletes, and I want them to just think. I want them to know and feel what it's like to have 3, 2, 1, or a failure left in the tank. And so it's important for athletes when they're learning to train to kind of just know their body and know what it feels like. So the way this workout is set up is that week 1 is going to be lighter, going down to week 4 being more challenging. So week 1, all of your sets will be 3 RIR, means that you're going to finish your set. Let's say you finish your bench press at 11, you're on rep 11, and you're like, all right, I probably got 3 more reps left in the tank. You're going to end it there. Week 2 on that exercise, you're going to have 2 IRR. So it's going to be a little bit more challenging. Let's say you get to rep 12 or 13, you're like, yeah, I only got like 2 left in the tank. It's a little bit more challenging. End it there. Week 3, you're going to go till you have 1 rep left in reserve. So maybe you get to 15 this week and you're like, yeah, I got 1 more left, but that's it. Rack it there before you do that last one. Week 4, that's when you're going to kind of push it a little bit more towards failure. And the reason I say towards failure is because I want you to be safe. And so if you don't have a partner spotting you or anything like that, make sure you have safety racks in place or safety setup depending on what exercise you're doing. And specifically for a bench press, ask someone to spot you. If you don't have a spot, a 0 RR would be like, you grind out that last rep at like 16 and it's like a struggle, you lock it out. That would be 0. Put it down. There's no reason to put it back down and or go back down and let it sit on your chest, and then you have to roll it off your body or have someone come and pick it up for you. So you do use that as your guide, but be smart. Week 5 is a deload. You're going to cut everything by 50% or so, and just move through the weights, move through the work, sets, a light jog, a light bike, whatever you want, just anything light for that week. That's not going to hinder your recovery. We want to recover that week 5. Then going into your next phase, you'll pick up kind of where you left off. So you'll take basically like 75% of your final working sets from that week 4, and that's where you're going to start. So take where you finished, cut it down by X amount. It doesn't have to be perfectly 75%. Again, this is where that kind of feeling comes in for my athletes. I want them to know intuitively where to go from here. But 75% is kind of a good marking point in their head. And then last thing I always tell any athlete who's training for building muscle, hypertrophy training, is that range of motion and stretch on a muscle is a key driving factor. So make sure that you're pushing safely, but pushing your range of motion deeper and deeper. So for example, if you're doing a dumbbell bench press, I want you at the bottom to really feel a stretch on the chest, making sure that you get all the way down to the bottom ranges of motion and then press up. Now on a lot of exercises, that means that you're gonna have to decrease weight, and that's okay because we're not worried about weight in this. We're worried about increasing our hypertrophy and our muscle building, and with that comes stretch. So you need to stretch the muscle at the bottom of each rep. There's a ton of good stuff online about that. Just look it up, Google it. I'm not going to put any demos in this exercise or in this video because it would be way too long. So feel free to look up any of these exercises that you don't know, any of these terms that you don't know. Leave a comment down below. I'll be here to answer it. And then the last piece I put in these notes is that for any day that you have sprint stuff, this is the warm-up that I want you to do. Everything's for 20 yards. So you're going to do an A march, an A skip, an A run, and then skips for height. You're going to do bounds, bunny hops, and build-ups. Again, if you don't know them, look them up. Pretty much basic track warm-up. For your build-ups, we usually do 3. So one at like 65%, one at like 75%, and one at 85%. So starting slow, building up, and then you'll be ready for your workout. All right, moving into the split. So it's a lower, upper, off, lower, upper, off. That's the formula that we're going to follow. So 2 lower days, 2 upper days, and then there's conditioning and sprint stuff built in there as well. This just worked really well with his schedule. He was able to have longer sessions on these 4 days and then have 3 days fully off. So you can adjust it how you need it for your training. Day 1, we start lower body. So we're going with a sprint workout on the treadmill to start. So 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. Set the treadmill at 8%. This is a good incline to kind of keep your speed in check. That means you don't have to crank the treadmill up to 15 to get what we're looking for out of this. 8% allows us to go a little bit slower and still get kind of like that same conditioning stimulus that I'm looking for here. A good goal for you to aim for is 8 for 10 rounds. So speed of 8 for 10 rounds. Don't start there. Start at 6, 5, 6, depending on your skill level on this. Feel it out. Get a good feel for it, because whatever number you pick, I want you to stay there for the full 10 rounds. So you can feel it out for a couple warm-up sets maybe. And let's say you're at 7.2 on the treadmill and you're like, this is perfect. You do 7.2 for your 10 rounds. You write down in your notes that like, oh, that was pretty easy. I definitely could do more. Great. Next week, I want you to go up to 7.5 on the treadmill. Do that for 10 rounds. If you can do that for 10 rounds, great. Keep increasing until you hit a point where it is basically like a 9 out of 10 on the treadmill, like exertion wise. Like it's 9 out of 10, 10 being the hardest. That's kind of where you want to work towards, but take your time getting there. Then you're going to go into some med ball work. The way this works is you're just going to do your first set of med ball slams for 10, then you do your first set of med ball chops for 8 on each side, and then repeat that for 3 rounds. Rest what you need, but there's no real need for a lot of rest here. You can go right through that. And then we're going to get into our lower body hypertrophy training session for the day. We're going to start with seated hamstring curls. The reason we start with the hamstring curls and not the leg press is because the leg press is very systemically fatiguing. It's just going to take a ton out of you. So we do the hamstring curls first because it's not going to take a ton out of you. The leg press will. We get more out of our hamstring curls by doing them first, and it doesn't affect our leg press nearly as much as our leg press would affect the hamstring curls if we did it in reverse order. So for here, We're gonna do seated hamstring curls, 3 by 15 to 25, and I use a big rep range because I want you to land somewhere in that rep range. So pick a weight, you're gonna land in there. So let's say you get to like 18 reps on your first set. You're like, great, I have 3 reps left in the tank. Let's leave it there, and then you're gonna rest. I want you to rest until you kind of feel your heart rate coming back down. Usually between somewhere 1 minute and 2 minutes for hamstring curls would be good. Then you can go again until you hit your set, and then do that for 3 total sets. And then moving on to leg press. So leg press, same concept for all of this stuff. We're working on hypertrophy. The reps are gonna be higher, the weight's gonna be lower. So you're gonna do your set of 15 to 25. Again, week 1 will be a little bit lighter, it won't feel like you're working too hard, but it's still gonna feel like you're working. And by the time you get to week 4, it's gonna be extremely challenging. This part here is only for week 4. Don't do these, and I should probably make a note of that here. There we go. Only on week 4 that you're gonna do this part. So on week 4, you're gonna finish your last set, and then without resting, you're gonna go and complete as many walking lunges as you can. Now, I don't want you to go until you literally fall over. I want you to go until you have a really solid burn and it's decently painful. And this is kind of where safety comes in. I really want my athletes to know that, like, I want them to push hard, but I don't want them to push so hard that they're sore for a week straight after this. So always start less than you think. Always start less than you think. You can always add more as the week comes on. So start less, and then you can add more. Once you start adding more, you'll start to feel like, oh, yep, I was sore for a day or 2. That's a really good working set for me. And that's where we want to be. Sore for a day or 2, and then recovering. That way it's not affecting our other workouts, but we know we're getting a good stimulus. And then we're going to finish off with a rear foot elevated RDL. You can look this one up, but I usually do like a back foot on the wall RDL, holding a dumbbell. So 15 to 25 on each leg there. And that's it for day 1. Moving on to day 2. This would be an upper body day, and we're going to add in some sprints in the beginning. So we're going to do that sprint warm up, and you're going to need a space that's like 40 to 50 yards. So maybe a field, grass, a dead end road or something like that, whatever you can find. Your first one, you're going to do 4 sets of 20-yard sprints with a 60 to 90 second rest in between each. And then you're going to do 4 sets. I would rest maybe 3 to 5 minutes and then go into your 40-yarders. These are 4 by 40-yard sprints with a push-up start. So you're going to start on your belly, do a push-up into your sprint. A little bit longer rest here, 90 to 120 seconds a piece. And then you're going to go into your med ball work. Same concept as day 1. And then we got our upper body hypertrophy session. So we're going to do a dumbbell bench press, 3 by 15 to 25. Again, working on that big stretch at the bottom. Use a little bit lighter weight than you think you need. B2, we're going to go and for resting wise, again, same thing. Wait till your heart rate goes down, 60 to 90 seconds here. For B2, you're going to do a Pendlay row or a bent barbell row. It's pretty similar. Either one works. 15 to 25 reps. Again, 60 to 90 second rest in between sets. And then we're going to finish off with a superset. So you can see I have C1 and C2 set here. C1 is going to be your seated incline curls. C2 is going to be a dumbbell skull crusher. You're just going to go one after the other. Rest as needed in between each, but you're going to do your curls for a set, and then your skull crushers for a set. Repeat that superset 3 times. That'll finish off day 2 upper body. Wednesday, I always had him call me or text me for details on this. I had a different lacrosse skill day for him every Wednesday. Feel free to do wall ball, shooting routines, whatever skill position you have, work on that. So defender, work on some footwork drills, slides, stuff like that. Goalie, working on walk the lines, hand work, stuff like that. Face-off guys, working on your face-off skills. Moving on, again, for that day, you don't want it to be taxing. You just want skills. Working on skills. You're not going out to get a full workout in. You're just You may sweat light depending on how hot it is out, but your skills are the important thing for that day. Day 3 is our second lower body day. We're going to start the day off with tempo intervals. So tempo intervals are not 100% efforts. You want to be in the 75 to 80% range of effort. And I like to do these on a bike or a rower. Just mix it up and lighter impact, because we do a lot of different running throughout the week. So adding in a bike, assault bike, or a rower, something like that. Worst comes to worst, you can always do runs. I would say do them on grass or turf if you can for this, just to, again, lower the impact throughout the week. So you're going to do a 15-second sprint with a 45-second rest, and the 15-second sprint is, again, at 75% to 80%. So it's not all out. Your goal is to do this at the same tempo for all 20 minutes. So try to keep that same speed. On a bike or rower, it's kind of easy to see like your percentage or your watts or your output, and you try to keep it in that same range. For running, it's a little bit more challenging, but you can use distance as a measuring marker. So 15 seconds, you get X distance. Try to do that distance the same amount of time. And then we're going to do a little bit of a circuit here with med balls and lateral bounds. So a set of slams, a set of chops, and then a set of lateral bounds. Repeat that for 3 rounds. And then our second day of lower body exercises here, we have a barbell RDL. The reason this is 8 to 12 reps is because grip sometimes becomes a factor, especially if you don't have any sort of grip assistance like straps or anything like that. So I always do 8 to 12 here, just to make sure that the grip is the non-factor here. So these will be a little bit heavier than your typical like 15 to 25 rep range ones. But same concept, fall within that 8 to 12 rep range, rest 60 to 90 seconds, repeat for 3 rounds. And then we're going to do a heel raised back squat. So you can raise your heels up. A lot of gyms now have kind of like the slant boards that you can stand on, or you can use like little 10-pound weights to bring your heels up. You can Google different ways to raise your heel on these, but the back squat is full range of motion. So you're going all the way down. And the reason we raise the heels is because it allows you to go deeper and allows your knees to track forward more and allows you to get lower to the ground, which puts more stress on the quads in that deep stretch position, which also means that you need to use lighter weight than you think here. You're not back squatting heavy here. The lighter weight is going to crush you here. So make sure you start lighter than you think, and get a feel for it here. You may want to rest maybe 2 minutes between each, 2 to 3 minutes between each set here. It's pretty fatiguing. And then your final set is going to be a prone hamstring curl. Not every gym has one. If you don't have prone hamstring curls, you can just go right back to a seated hamstring curl. But prone hamstring curl kind of just changes up the angle and gives them something different to do. So his gym had it, so we put it in. Then moving on, that finishes your day, your second lower day. Then we're moving on to our second upper day. So this would be our 5, 10, 5. 1 rep in each direction is going to be 1 round. So you're going to do 2 reps per round essentially. So you would go 5, 10, 5 to the left, 5, 10, 5 to the right. And you're going to do 3 rounds, 60-second rest between each. And then you're going to go into a falling start sprint. So 2 feet together, you're going to feel like you're falling forward. And as soon as you feel like you're about to fall on your face, that's when you start sprinting. We're going to do 4 sets of 20-yard sprints here, the 60-second rest in between each. And then we're going to finish up with a fast, slow, fast sprint. So kind of like just a change in acceleration drill here. So you're going to sprint hard for 20, then slow it up for 20 yards, kind of like decelerate. And by the time you finish decelerating, jog the rest of the 20. And then when you get to that last 20, you're going to fully sprint again. These are a little bit bigger sprints, so you're going to rest a little bit longer. 120-second rest, aka a 2-minute rest between each. Make sure you do your sprint warm-up before this day as well. Moving on to med ball side throws and chest pass with a step. Again, same thing. Rotate through until you hit your 3 rounds. And then we're on to our final day of hypertrophy training. You can do, he had a nice decline cable fly setup, so we added that in here. If you don't have that, you can do a regular cable fly, or you can do a machine cable fly. pretty much every gym has a machine cable fly. The biggest thing here on the cable fly or the machine fly is to focus on the stretch. So you want to set it up so that you have a huge stretch of your chest. You should feel your chest stretching out at the bottom when you're fully pushed back into the machine or into the fly. And then when you come together, you want to have a nice squeeze at the top. Same concept, 15 to 20 reps here. And then we're moving to B, lat pull downs. Pretty much every gym has a lat pull down, but again, make sure you have a nice stretch at the top of the position and then pull down all the way down to your chest. Full range of motion there, 3 sets of 15 to 20. And then we're gonna finish off with our superset for bicep and tricep. We're gonna do a cable curl with our skull crushers here. And then same thing as our first day. We're gonna go cable curls first set, skull crushers first set, repeat that for 3 times through. And that is his full workout. I would say this workout would be appropriate for any college athlete who has some training under their belt, who's working in the off season, and also any high school athlete who does have some training under their belt as well. I wouldn't say this is not a great training program for a complete beginner. Somewhere in that intermediate range where you started working out, you kind of know what you're doing. And this will kind of give you a good direction. The goal here is consistency and long-term consistency. It is strength training and hypertrophy training and training in general should be boring. It is something that you need to do over and over and over again to get really, really good at. The people that change their workouts constantly will never see progress because they're never progressing any of their lifts. So make sure that you stick to this. Try to increase your weights, your sets, your reps over time in a long-term, sustainable way so you don't burn out, you don't get injured. I don't want my athletes getting extremely sore for weeks at a time. They need to learn to back off a little bit, go a little bit lighter, do a little bit less reps, whatever it may be, but something that they can do for an extended period of time so that it extends their training life and it also extends into their seasons. If this is done properly, their seasons will be much better. Their joints will be less banged up. They're going to have more muscle mass. They're going to feel more confident. And those all lead to more successful seasons. There'll be less risk of injury, etc. Obviously, lacrosse is a contact sport. There's always that risk of injury. But training properly is something that takes time. It takes consistency. It takes effort. And it takes someone's ability to kind of grit and grind it out. And also feel free to take notes. I always use a notebook on every workout I do ever. But you can use your phone, a tablet, whatever you have. I'm old school. I like to write it down. But keep track of everything. Make sure everything's looking good. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions. And I'll catch you next time. See ya.